Hello my lovely people, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jane. This is the first time that you are seeing me. Thank you so much for stopping by. My return subscribers, I love you. I love you. I love you from my heart. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for your support. Thank you for sharing. God, what can I do without you guys? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I love you guys. May God bless you. May God protect you. May God guide you. May God send help in time of need for you. Thank you. So my people, I live right here in Washington. Washington DC in US. Peter Obi just visited over here and in John Hopkins University. So when I came to this, I went so I can see him, at least meet him for the first time. So I went. We took all these pictures that you're seeing is the proof that I was there with him. We went over there. We sat down. As always, the man has brain. The man has sense. The man don't have. I wish he started saying all these things, but guess what? What is speaking for him is what he did when he was in the office. So people were speaking for him. It's not him speaking for himself. But now he's being pushed to come out and say something. So he came out and he gave Nigerians right here in America what is happening in Nigeria, the the situations of things in Nigeria. Hey, come and see governor, the puppet of Lagos State, come out and attack him and ask him, what have you done? Even when you were a governor, you were not able to. This one now that is a governor that is making everybody run away from Lagos because he's busy demolishing people's business. If Lagos was okay before, if you dash me house in Lagos, I will not leave. I will not stay. I will not carry. Give me mansion in Lagos and say, Jane, stay here free of charge. I will not leave because it's a horrible place to live. So if that is what you want to come out and tell Nigerians that Peter Obi never did anything. So, but you know, Peter Obi people speak for him. He doesn't have to tell you what he did. But he came here and Ananugo came and said, what's his name? The thief that went to jail for, they gave 12 years. And he went to jail and he's now in Senate. They called himself former governor of Abia State. He came out and started saying that they are going around looking for investors, that nobody should be going around demarcating Nigeria in abroad. You are going around looking for. You are going around. Hey, Jesus is Lord. You are going around looking for investment. When Burkina Faso, a 36-year-old man, is building his place so that other people will come to his place and invest without him calling anybody to come and invest. So Peter Obi, I'm gonna put a full video. It's going to be a little lengthy because all the things that he said and how he answered the question, but the one that he said that made me want to put this whole video is what? When they asked him about why people, why everything that is happening, and he said everything that is happening because Nigerians allowed it. I've been saying it for a long time. They say Nigerians allowed it. No country ever. This I'm telling you that no country ever will. If you allowed all these politicians, they will do and undo. But everywhere you go, even in America here, people are protesting. Everywhere you go is through protest. But anyway, that's not why I'm here. I don't want to make this video so long. Please enjoy the video of what he said when he was here in America, that is making all those rubbish people in Nigeria talk. That's all they know how to do, is to talk. Let them continue to talk. So my people, I need you to enjoy the video, enjoy the brain, enjoy why we want this man to be the president of Federal Republic of Nigeria that these criminals have destroyed. Enjoy it and share the video if you can. From me to you. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Without further delay, please welcome Peter.
Where do I start? Let me start by sincerely thanking those of you, Peter and your team, for inviting me, and all of you that are here. When Peter was doing this introduction, like I told him in his office, I don't like meeting professors who are going to talk because they know everything. So I don't know what to say whenever I meet them. Thank you for the honor of inviting me and for being here with all of you. I think, like Peter just mentioned, I'm a politician, I'm a trader actually. So mine wouldn't be as good as Peter's own, who is a professor, and I have Professor Tommy, maybe he will assist me. But the topic today, for me, says politics and Nigeria. And I was telling Professor Tommy as they were coming, I said, politics and Nigeria, or do we say leadership in Nigeria? Because I think, for me, when you talk about politics, you talk about political leadership. And whenever you talk about political leadership, for me, it's about talking about the influence on a nation, on a state, because it doesn't exist in vacuum when you talk about politics. And when you talk about leadership, leadership is the bedrock of progressive or a progressive nation. It is the foundation for me for everything, because at the heart of any progressive nation lies a true and sacrificial leadership that prioritizes the need and well-being of people and the growth of that nation. And so is the reverse in everything. And what I've been doing, like I was taught you this morning, to get a copy of Peter's book, Growing Apart, about Indonesia and Nigeria. What I've done in my little involvement in politics is to continue to study why is this nation doing well, why is this one not doing well, and continue to compare them and say, what is it that we're not doing right? Peter that I spent 1 week this year in Indonesia, meeting from the ministers up to the president, and just asking questions. What are you doing that we're not doing? And everything. And I've done that in different countries of the world, just comparing them with Africa, but especially with Nigeria. Because I can look at Nigeria past and see everything. And that's all I'm going to be able to talk about a little time I have before we enter into being learning from you, because the job of a leader is to be a good listener and a learner. Once you stop learning, you stop leading. And for politicians and for people like me, I believe you must lead, you must not know everything. If you know everything, you should be in classroom, not in politics. Because politics is about learning. So I'm going to listen more to you. But when I look at the places I've been and incomparable states or nations with Nigeria, because I know all people who are here in the United States, but I'm sorry, I always say, don't ever compare Nigeria and US. If you're doing it, you're doing the wrong thing. We have, because there's no need comparing somebody who is in the Premier League in football with the third division. It was everybody's time. We want to compare. We have comparable nations you can use to compare us. And that is why I'm in love with Peter's book, Growing Apart, because it's about Indonesia and Nigeria. And for our conversation this morning, I added other countries of the world. I added China. I know people will say, oh, China is too. No, I added China because even today, if you compare China and US, the least among the three is Vietnam, with over 100 million. And then you have Indonesia with 283 million. And then, of course, Nigeria with over 200 million. And China with over 1.4 billion. And To compare this, I look over a period of 35 years. 1990. Somebody asked me yesterday, why did you choose 1990? I said, well, if I go to 1970s, they say, oh, we just came out of war. If I go to the 80s, they say it's just 10 years. But I want to go to 1990, so 20 years clear after the Civil War. And that year was the year when they're starting what we now use to measure development. Because today, if you want to take up development of any nation, the number one measure of development is Human Development Index. That is the number one measure. And that is, of course, graded low, medium, high, and very high. And of course, everybody knows the tenets of that, the ingredients or tenets of that measure: education, life expectancy, and per capita income. If you go in 1990, was actually about the first year in which you can say that measure started. And in that year, the four countries I mentioned now, China, Nigeria, Vietnam, and Indonesia, were measured as low, medium. They didn't classify them just as being low or medium, but it's classified as low, medium, because if you look at the coefficient at which they used to measure it, they were almost the same thing. Nigeria was 0.438, then China was 0.499, and Indonesia was about 0.438. And the same was Vietnam. They were all within the same area, and they were measurable. Indonesia, I think, was the highest at 526, but then they were all classified as medium. If you look at it in terms of their per capita, then they were similar. You have Indonesia which was the highest, then at $578. Nigeria followed at 566. Then, of course, you have China, 317. So we're higher than China. And then you have Indonesia, not even that, you have Vietnam, about 1/5 at $99 in 1990. You can go on in terms of poverty, the number of people living in poverty. In 1990 in China is 750 million. Nigeria is 50 million. So they have 15 times the number living in poverty. Indonesia was about 85 million. Vietnam was 60 million. About 90% of Vietnamese live in poverty in 1990. And you can go on in other areas that you can use to measure. You find out that we are doing very well. Then, just look at 35 years after. In 2024, 35 years after, in terms of HDI measurements, Nigeria remained low. Indonesia have moved to high, Vietnam have moved to high, China have moved to high. 35 years after. 35 years after, in per capita, China that was below us is now about $13,000. Of course, Indonesia have moved from 578 to about 5,000. Vietnam, from 99, to about 4,700, and we're at 1,000. So China that was below us is now about 13 times where we are. Indonesia, Vietnam that was 1/5 is now almost 5 times. So is Indonesia. In terms of pulling people out of poverty, China from 750 million, 15 times our own position of 50 million, we now have more people living in poverty than China. So we have gone from being 1/15 to now surpassing them. In fact, we now have more people living in poverty than these 3 countries put together. And then you ask yourself, what went wrong? What did we? So then my question is, how did this happen that somebody who had 750 million people living in poverty now have only 50 million, 50, 55 million, and we have increased, we have surpassed them. How did these nations, what did they do? Well, they invested in all critical areas of development. They invested in education. If you look at their literacy rate today, they are above 90, 3 of them. We are still hovering around 50%. They invested in health, and they invested in pulling people out of the poverty through consistent economic policies that were pursued vigorously. They fought corruption. You go there, they improve the laws in even what you can call intangible assets of insecurity, dealing with security issues, dealing with law and order, ensuring that there's more to do in terms of industrialization, productive and everything. So you look at it, what are they doing today to stabilize the economy? Nigeria, with over 200 million people, we barely make 10% of Vietnamese exports, or Indonesia. I don't want to go to China when it comes to export. I'm just talking about these two. We barely make 10% of what they do. And you look at it like I was in Indonesia. We have all it takes and everything. And you can see we have become one of the hungriest countries of the world today. We're 109 of about 128 countries that measured. And today, we have over 65% of our arable land all cultivated, because it's not a productive country. Everybody is waiting for one month to go there. Nobody wants to be productive. And there's so many things, like I said in the Commonwealth meeting about 2 weeks ago, I was in Bangladesh. Bangladesh lives on 148,000 square kilometers of land. Nigeria is 923,000 square kilometers. So Nigeria is over 6 times Bangladesh in terms of land space. And if you consider like Bangladesh, that 167 million people, and we have about 200 million people. So there's more space than everything. But Bangladesh produces 57 to 60 million tons of rice. Nigeria does not produce 10% of that. It is that bad. The only export that makes money to us today is oil. which we're even stealing. That's the only thing we have. So Nigeria can make money, huge amount of money from agricultural export and products. Our biggest state, see me say this every day, is Niger State, 76.3 thousand square kilometers of land, fertile land. It doesn't feed itself, it doesn't do anything. It waits for whatever is going to be shared every month. When a tiny place like Netherlands, 33,000 square kilometers, so Niger State is 2.5 times the size of Netherlands. They did exports in 2020 of agricultural products, $122 billion. That is 3 times what we earn from oil. Because we're not productive. We have a place like Borno State where we have Sambisa Forest, giving us all the problem of insecurity. Sambisa Forest area is about 60,000 square kilometers. That is 3 times the size of Israel. At 22,000 multiplied 366 plus 60 is comparable. But it's become a problem for us when it's an agricultural field. It can be used. And you can see this everywhere. I've been to Morocco and drove from Casablanca to Tangier Port. On both sides, it's all agricultural product. And I drew the same drive in Nigeria. It's an empty land with people who are hungry because they don't want to work. So I can go on and on. When I did this study, I could see what is wrong. And this can be solved by leadership. What you are seeing in Nigeria and probably in Africa is cumulative effect of leadership failure over the years, where you've hired incompetent leaders without capacity, without compassion, commitment to do anything, and turn the whole place into a crime scene, where people are just stealing public resources without adding any value. Because even different if they're adding value and stealing some. When you're just stealing without adding any value. Place where they have become unproductive. Because you could see that there's nothing happening here. There's no value added, there's no manufacturing, there's nothing. Everything is just there. So how do we solve this? You need to change your leadership recruitment. We cannot go on the method where we recruit people today based on maybe I'm from this place, I'm from that place. Because yes, Nigeria, many tribes. They don't have more tribes than Indonesia. They don't have more tribes than Indonesia. And no tribe have ever, that I know that buys bread cheaper in Nigeria, or buy food cheaper, or get anything cheaper. People have been recruited in Nigeria based on religion. No religion buys bread cheaper. Because Indonesia is a country with the highest number of Muslims living in any nation. And I went with 2 Muslims. And I went around the whole country. And I asked them, did you see any Almajiri here? Did you see anybody begging here? No. Why? They invested in education. The more a country is educated, the more developed. It is not something that is difficult to know. Did you see anybody? So we went around, and what are they doing? They're investing in education. You can look it up and see. All the countries I mentioned now invest at least 3% of their GDP annually in health and in education. In Indonesia have about 90% health insurance. I can tell that health insurance in Indonesia is probably more efficient than it is in the Western world. They have primary health care in all the villages, manned by a competent community health officer with 2 nurses and doctors visiting. Nigeria have less than 10%, about 5% health insurance, with over 70% of the health facility, the community health centers, not functional, with nobody to manage. So it depends on where you are. If you're sick, the only thing you can do is to pray to God. That's why there's more prayers than dealing with the reality. Because there's nowhere to go to. And that is the crisis we face in the nation. But because the process has been hijacked by, I won't say bandits, but something near that, you hardly can take it back without the people understanding that they have a role to play in this in order for us to take it back. For our children, for all of us, and everything. So, for me, like I said, it's just to give you an idea of my own little contribution in my experience of traveling around and saying that the problem is leadership. All of us, I'm a leader myself. So all of us are involved. I'm not trying to blame A or B or C and everything. I'm just saying that we can see it. I've been part of it, and I've been an entrepreneur who started business from scratch. I've been in the corporate world in Nigeria, and I've been in the public space. So I know that what is lacking is visionary leadership that can focus and prioritize on doing what is right, ensuring the country is secure. Let nobody tell you the country can be secure. Non-state actors cannot take over a state unless there's corruption. Same applies on the rule of law. These are intangible assets. Rule of law actually contributes more to GDP of the Western world than any other thing. And this is not sophisticated. It's something that we can do. So that's my conversation. I remember telling Gabe yesterday that I left Nigeria on Tuesday to Rome. And then, of course, quickly went to, as a Christian and a Catholic, went to pay my respects to our Holy Father, in Rome yesterday. I haven't been opportune to meet him for 3 times, and a member of his educational council. And then immediately ran to the airport, caught a flight to New York, and then from New York arrived here at midnight yesterday. And when I met Gabe, I said, "Good, what am I going to tell them? You could have found a professor to do the lecture and listen." So mine is just to tell you what my experience is, and then listen to you and learn, because you have great ideas. You live in the first world, and I'm living in the third world. Now maybe if there's any clarification, maybe I'll go back for it. So just learn from you what it takes to bring a better world. But I think, above all, leadership. Thank you, and God bless you.
You can hear me. Thank you. It was a wonderful set of remarks, very provocative, very intriguing, obviously based on your own experience. So I'm going to throw out the first question, and then we'll open this up. When you think about where Nigeria is now, and where it could go, based on the realities of Nigerian abilities, Nigerian talents, current state of Nigerian institutions. What would that process of change look like? I mean, we can think about a single administration or 2 terms of leadership really making a difference, given even the baseline today for all of the challenges. What would that kind of new bargain or new trajectory look like?
Well, let me attempt to make comment without saying I clearly understood your question, but quite frankly, for me, with all these things I've said, Nigeria remains one country that has incredible potential for turnaround. We have, just like I always say about Africa, and I'll be using Africa and Nigeria, have immense potential in terms of natural resources, human capital. I know it needs to be trained, but we have young age, youthful age, 60% of our age, and youthful people, very dynamic, very talented, if pushing the right way and everything, and all that. And in terms of governance, it's just to organize, like I said, competent leadership based on doing the right things. And I believe our political setup today, I've always said, we don't need first 8 years. We don't need second term, because I think it's part of our problem. We need people to just come for a single term. For me, it's 5 years. I believe whatever you can do. Yes, you might not be able to do whatever you think you're going to do in 5 years. That's what people say. But I say in 5 years, you can show the right direction if you mean well. Clearly, I've served. And I know that in the first 2-3 years, you can take those decisions that can make the place to be on its right path. We need to change our parliamentary system and bring in a system that will allow. We went too far going into American system of capitalism, in terms of governance system. We need a moderate side where we can be like what is happening in Indonesia or in South Africa, where we have proportional representation in the assembly, where we have opportunity of the president to be answerable properly to the assemblies. Today, if you make Peter president, I can decide not to talk to anybody. I can just hire some, maybe media talks to be answering and calling anybody's name in social media and everything. So nobody, if the Prime Minister of India travels today, you can go and check it. Every Indian knows where he is at all times. Before he leaves the country, he will tell you where he's going. When he arrives there, he will say he arrived there. There's a conversation, he will do that. So is the president of Indonesia, under Widodo. Everywhere he is. But I can tell you, I don't know where our leaders are, what they do. The president said he was going for a retreat for 2 weeks. And after that, he extended, nobody's sure whether the retreat extended for years, but they extended 1 week after. When you chose to be in public life, the public must know where you are. You can stay in your private life. Today, I tell people wherever I'm going. When I arrived in Rome yesterday, people knew I was in Rome. They know I'm here now. And they know I'm going to leave here to California tomorrow. Because you choose a public life. I can choose to go back to my family and decide nobody should know where I am. But you must be answerable to the people. That's why we need to change some of our political trajectory to have it properly.
We have a very engaged audience today. I'm going to open this up. What we'll do is we'll take 3 questions at a time, and we'll give Mr. Obi an opportunity to answer, and then we'll do another 3. So, questions. I see you, and I see you there, and I see this lady here. So I've recognized 3 people. Who's the first one? Please, yeah. And please introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi everyone, I am Awad Abdullahi. I'm a second-year MBA student here at Hopkins. It's very nice to finally meet you, Mr. Obi. I've been a huge fan. I don't think I've ever been starstruck by Nigeria. I think I was this time around, and I think I get it why I am starstruck by you, just watching you talk and just seeing you lay out the problems of Nigeria. I feel like you have a good system understanding of what the issues are. But having the understanding is one thing. I feel like implementing it in Nigeria is another thing, because Nigeria is a very frustrating country to lead, especially. And my question is, you have these beautiful ideas on how you want to fix the problem. How do you plan on doing this? Because Mr. Peter Obi is just one man. There's someone that recently wrote an article about how if you swap the House of Reps and our senators and our president over and over again, and you bring random Nigerians on the street and you give them that power, they are prone to do exactly the same thing that is happening right now, because there is a belief that everybody is waiting for their time to plunder the system and all of that. What are you going to do differently? How are you going to recruit this supposedly good talent? Because at the end of the day, I just feel like it's the same thing over and over again. People come, Buhari came with his wave of change. Some of us believed him and we got duped. And it's just the same thing over and over again. So what are you going to do differently beyond just the good, nice ideas and a good understanding of the problem?
Okay, thank you. Over here in the white.
Hello, my name is Tochi Wu. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, by way of Imo State. My question is, you keep talking about the system, Nigeria, and obviously the problems in Africa. I think the best thing for our country is to have a constitutional rewrite. I think that we need to put our destiny in our own hands and not the hands of anyone else. So I'm asking you, are you suggesting that we should rewrite our constitution to fix our system, or how can we effectively fix our system in Nigeria?
Great, thank you.
Effectively fix our system in Nigeria, and should we rewrite our constitution?
Yeah, should we rewrite the Constitution and how can we fix the system? And then over here.
Thank you, Mr. Obi. My name is Ama Isman. I'm an MPH MBA student here at Hopkins. I'm from Ghana, not from Nigeria. But I came here because we're all looking for a message of hope. And we heard a lot about you during the last election in Nigeria. And one of the critical things we heard about you is that you're a man of integrity. My question is very similar to Awal's question. One man of integrity may not be able to change the system alone. How have you built a critical mass of people who believe the things that you believe and are willing to put in the work to build a country? And I'm asking this because, like me and other young people who know it will soon be our turn to lead our countries, what can we learn from your journey in finding those people and creating the army that's going to make that change? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So
Admirably clear and concise and brief questions. Thank you, please.
okay. Thank you. You know, I've been asked this question very often. How will one person change the system? I can tell you, one person can change the system, even in America here. Let me be honest with you. Everywhere you've seen change all over the world, started with one person, who mean well. You can study it everywhere. Whether it's, I don't compare that, but it's what compared. Whether you look at Singapore today, or you look at China, or you look everywhere in the world, one person who means well, who understands first. Because like he said, you have to understand the problem first. It's like going to the doctor, and the doctor doesn't know what it's all about. He's going to waste all your time because he doesn't know what it. You have to understand the problem. You have to be determined. That's why I said I have been an entrepreneur, and I have been in the what they can call corporate space, and I've been in the public space. When I became governor of Anambra State, let me give you an example, because you see, when I became governor of Anambra State, I've never worked in government for one day. Not one day, never had anything to do with government. People like him and those who made me here, I never had anything to do with government. I was in a board meeting as chairman of Fidelity Bank, then young man, and they said they declared me governor. And I arrived there, first time, of course, we had issues with Anambra State then. My predecessor had issues, so the government house was burnt, so there was no office of the governor. The governor's lodge was burnt, so there was no place for the governor to live. There was nothing, and after swearing, they said, so where's the government house? Where is this? There was nothing. I didn't have a privilege of anybody handing me over, because my predecessor had issues and he had to leave, so nobody gave me a piece of paper. So I called all the people who are working in government. Can I have your plan for education, health, this, that? There was none. Immediately I created Ministry of Planning and Budgeting. So how do you execute? What is your budget and everything? I created that ministry and said, I want us to know this. And I said, listen, for us to do this, we must prioritize what is the, since luckily for us, we had the UN had developed Millennium Development Goals, and we said, okay, let's not go too far. Let's adopt this as our vision. Let's develop a strategy for delivering all the 8 goals simultaneously. So we developed what we call an Anambra Integrated Development Strategy, which allowed us to pursue issues. Number one was poverty, extreme poverty. We did a study. We were the first to do statistical record of poverty in Nigeria. You can go, all these things you can verify for statistical record. We did that study and found out that the biggest thing affecting poverty was people in rural area not having access to sell their goods and all that. And then we looked at the education. Anambra was number 20-something in WAEC, NICO, and everything. We looked at health. We didn't even, we're talking about primary health care, when we didn't have one single school of nursing or midwifery accredited in the entire state. So all this planning brought out all this. And we said, how are we going to implement it? We didn't have money. So it became, how do we chop off money? That's how I shut down. Anambra then we had a lodge, governor's lodge in Abuja. The governor doesn't live in Abuja. He doesn't have it, right? So I shut it down, shut down Lagos. We had several offices, like Office of First Lady. It was an additional confusion all over the place. We shut it down and everything. I said, oh, no problem. I have lived my house with my wife and we're very close. And nobody elected her, so I didn't know why they should create an office and buy a convent and everything. You know, so we started shutting down everywhere to say we must save money and everything. Even the civil servants, there was no ministry. There was no secretariat when I started. There were one ministry is in this place, one is in this place, one is in, all scattered all over the state. So we said we must build a secretariat. So we started prioritizing governance. started rebuilding, started saving money, started doing this. If you look at my impeachment, I was removed from office twice as governor. If you look at my first impeachment, you go and read the item of impeachment. Number one was repairing that my office I said it was bought. The budget was 298 million naira, and I used 43,200,000 to do everything. That was the first thing. They said I didn't do it through the process. Number two was my own repairing my own lodge for 200, and if the budget was 483 million, I used 81 million to do it. So it became a problem. So everywhere became, so you can. And when you start it, I found so many people, again, in recruitment, like you said, there's so many good Nigerians who are willing to work. I can tell you that. All you need to have a leader who is ready to do it, and they'll follow. And if you talk about corruption, people talk about corruption every day. I say, oh, it's difficult to fight corruption. It's not true. If you're not stealing, your wife and children are not, you reduce it by 50%. Quote me anywhere. I've seen it. If because you'll be the first person to steal and other people will join. If you're not stealing, you will not. I have a head of service called Ngozi Melifonwu. She's from Onitsha. When I contested for presidency last year, 2023, she wrote an article which is titled Stinginess as a Development Strategy. because when I came, every day she comes to my office, crying and crying, and said, Peter, every civil servant is unhappy. Everybody is unhappy with you. Same thing happens when I go to Abuja. The president will even tell me, people are not happy with you. And I asked the president, I never promised anybody happiness. I'm sure what I promised them. And if you want happiness, you go to the entertainers. There's people who already their job to do it. Mine is to do what is right. But what happened? When I started clearing the backlog of salaries, pensions, gratuities, they were like, where are you getting the money from? I said, it was the money that used to waste here and there and everything that I would have saved. And we're paying this because we're paying people. So you can get people. I always say to people, 75% of those who serve with me as commissioners never campaigned with me. In fact, I never met my chief of staff till I became governor. I never met her before. But I can tell you she was very strong. Never, and I can go on and on. My commissioner from finance, all this. I never met them. But they were very strong people. Because they came, not just recommended, working with them, I could see the difference. So there's so many people. Then nobody tell you that if you bring people from the street in Nigeria, they will be the same. It's not true. They need, that's why leadership is important. A leader inspires. He builds trust. So people can say, this is the man. If you bring something to my chief of staff and say, sign it, he will tell you, have you investigated the price? Are you sure what you're talking here? Because this man is going to phone round now and find out how much they are selling this thing and come back and tell you this thing. Don't bring this type of thing to him because he doesn't like this. Don't tell him he's going to Commission Road because he will tell you how much classroom that will cost for the, so on and on. And the same thing happens everywhere. For the changing of the Constitution, well, let me be honest with you. People talk about constitutional change or amendment and everything. The Constitution as it is today is not as bad as people think. But let's implement what is there today. You know, the Constitution is not the reason why people are stealing. Because they want to steal. So We want to have people who mean well first. The Constitution is not our problem. The Constitution is not why we're rigging an election. No. We had a president that was elected, Yaradua, who on his inaugural day said the process through which I came into office is wrong and he must not allow to continue. That's someone, and he went doing the right thing. Throughout the period he was there, the few elections that were conducted, everything was right. It's just a question of leadership. It is critical. Thank you.
I see somebody back there, and then this lady here, and then over here too. Okay? Trying to be democratic here, both geographically and in other respects. Yes. And so please identify yourself, and concise questions are welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Peter OBI'S. My name is Chidubem. I hail from Ahiazu, Mbise, Imo State, Nigeria. My question for you is, how can a country like Nigeria reclaim sovereignty and economic control from foreign powers like Russia, China, other European countries who finance infrastructure or engage in proxy influence, then impose long-term and exploitive financial and political obligations upon Nigeria?
Thank you. There was one here. Oh, over here, yeah. And then I see this.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adia Kelly. I graduated from SAIS last year, and I'm from a small country that rivals Nigeria. We are just 33 people in the country, Ghana. Yeah, so every time leaders meet and talk about Africa, we hear them talk about GDP and comparing ourselves to places like China, Indonesia, and Vietnam. But I never really hear them talk about the intersection of culture and development. Because these countries we keep comparing ourselves to are countries that have held forth their culture and value system very well. Africa now is trying to be globalized in a way that, sorry, we kind of want to speak like an American and behave like, say, a Chinese person and all of that. But what are you doing as a leader to ensure that we still uphold those value systems that we had, those family systems we had, and how will that influence development in the future? Thank you.
Thank you. And then over here, I think we used to be on the aisle, yeah. The lady on the aisle, yes. We'll get the other gentleman.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
My name is Ezine Asor. I'm a final year MBA student at Johns Hopkins. I'm really excited to meet you. In fact, I was telling my colleagues that when you were campaigning for president, I was like, if Peter OBI does not win, I'm going to study. I am glad that you're here today. You're my motivation to come get a higher education. My question goes in line with, Africa, Nigeria in particular, has a very young and rich youth population. And I don't see so much of the youth playing much in politics and, being a part of the development of our country, probably because of the way the system has been shaped. So what's your plan to incorporate young people? We have a lot of smart talent here. In healthcare, I know a lot of people here in Hopkins are more like healthcare affiliated. But how do you think that young people can participate in Nigerian politics and also do our own parts? And my second question would be, what's your message of hope for someone like me who has a dream for Nigeria, but every time I look back, I'm like, can I go back? I want to do something. So what's that message of hope for someone like me who wants to or seeks to play in Nigerian politics or healthcare system in the future? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, let me start with you who talked about the issues of foreign powers. And one person who has always maintained, I don't think the issue of foreign powers when it comes to leadership, it doesn't excuse. Nobody can come and take what belongs to you if you, or come to your house and steal if you're awake. If you're doing the right things, why are they not stealing from Asia? Why is our own different? Because there's a collusion with our own people. I come here very often. It will surprise you. No, people ask me about buying a house in America. Why would I own a house in America? I'm not an American, and I don't live here. So it is our own people who have decided to be part of that, and then they got a helping hand. Nigerians living in the UK, in the US, UK or Russia, do they do what is wrong here and not get punished? No. So why would somebody come to your country and do the same thing and get away with it? It is because our people are colluding with them. If you don't, they won't do it. I was governor for 8 years, and I can tell you, no foreigner, nobody did anything. In fact, at the time, like I always tell people, today I hear people say, oh, you're going to award this contract. I said, no, I was awarding the contracts to our people. Whether you say it didn't work or it doesn't matter. Somewhere we'll get it right. Let's keep doing that. I always use Innocent to tell them, when Innocent started his vehicle factory, I laid the foundation, and he came to tell me it's completed. I called the president to come and commission it. And I asked him, what are you doing? He said he was only doing passenger cars. Like, can you do buses for schools? He said, yes. I said, I'm ordering you 500 buses. Can you do vehicles for security? He said, yes, I ordered 300. Can you do SUVs for traditional glass? He said, yes. I said, I'm ordering 200. So I ordered 1,000 vehicles. And guess what? When I came back and told both the schools, traditional glass and everybody, they said, no, that is wrong. Now nobody has tested his vehicle. Do I know whether the brakes are working? Do I know in case the people die, in case the children, kill school children, this and I say, well, listen, we will use it. Let those who remain after those who die, they will, but it's this vehicle is what we are going to buy. And I paid him for the 500, for the 1,000 vehicle, 1 year upfront. Say, you build this factory here. We're going to use your vehicles. If anybody dies using them, well, God help, God has saved his soul. But this vehicle, till today, none have had accidents. And I've been there for over 10 years. What am I trying to say? We just have to believe in ourselves, do the right thing with ourselves, and don't start blaming another person for our problem. No, I don't believe in it. I don't think so. We should. And then, of course, you talk about culture. Yes. It's the same leadership problem. It's us that believes that, oh, well, you know, sorry, Prof. I'm sure you'll be wondering, why was this man going to different schools? I was actually trying to know whether there's anything different for them. That's why I was going to different schools. I said, okay, at that stage in 1990, in the 90s, I started from 98, I said, where are the 10 best schools? They listed them, Harvard, London School of Economics, Oxford, Cambridge. I said, okay, I'm going to go to all of them. Let me see whether they have two brains or there's something different. And Prof, there's nothing different. So the other one is their choice. The same thing goes with the cultures and everything. We have so many places. I ask myself, there's so many good places to go to Ghana for holidays, for example, experience their culture. There's so many places to go in Nigeria. But guess what happens today? And Nigeria said it's going to holidays, is going to Dubai. Going to, you know, where there's actually no place of interest except hotel. You know? And it's going to Qatar. It's going to New York. I mean, is there any place of interest in New York with the Confucian there? But it goes for holidays there. But we have lovely, good sites in Ghana, in Nigeria. Again, you need to make it attractive by making sure it's secured. Because nobody will pay his money to go for where he will lose his life or be kidnapped. So these are things we still have to do in Africa to make it work. I'm sure if we do the right thing, people will come to us. Because we're more competitive. That drives into me. My sister was talking about the youth. We have one of the most talented youth. Very ambitious, entrepreneurial and everything. But they need encouragement. It's leadership. Today, I used to tell them that people like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, everybody, were able to progress here because people saw what they were doing and gave them loan, gave them support, invested in them. In Nigeria, I can tell you as a young entrepreneur, you'll never get loan from anyone. Because if you go to the bank, the only loan you can get is when you bring buildings from your father, your mother, and everything. So all these things there's no encouragement. Even the system is against you. It is a place where even regulatory authorities, taxman, everything can allow me to go free while chasing the poor people on the street. Even police will stop you when you're poor to make sure that even whatever is left of you is taken away. So all these things are things we need to change with. I keep saying leadership. If you have the proper leadership, when I was governor, I noticed something happened. In the morning I drive because I go to my office early in the morning, and I see children just queuing up to pass to go to school. And you see my own drivers who will come. They know these are kids. Just 1 minute they'll cross. In fact, if they try to cross, the way they will. So I said, no. Wait a minute. Driver, this could be your kids. Mine is not there, but yours, I'm sure, is one of these people. What makes it difficult for us to stop for 1 minute for these children to pass? Do you know, at some time, they were stopping for everybody? Because they now know you can stop for people to pass. Because we see an old woman waiting to, and they will just, everything. They now know, I stopped them. When I started, we had this motorcycle rider. So anyway, I didn't know what they were, the value they were adding until the vehicle, their motorcycle spoiled, and they went for repair, and they gave me the bill. So I said, okay, they should come and actually tell me why we need it, because they're actually causing just confusion in the road. So when they said, I said, you know what? Find out whether the remaining two anybody can buy it. So we sell it. So we don't need it again. So throughout my 8 years, we didn't use it. Because they were adding no value and everything. There were little things that people were doing. And I tell people that they won't understand. We shot the cost of everything. We had a stand like this. They said we are going to be carrying wherever the government is speaking. If you say the amount. And I said, so what does it do? Does it add anything to what I'm going to say? They said, no. I said, okay, don't worry. If we go to any place, don't have a podium, we'll speak from anywhere they have. Don't carry anything. So everything we were doing was, so you can't do those things to be able to find incentive to support a critical area, which is entrepreneurship, which only the youth can drive. So there's a hope. Involving youth in politics today is not easy because some of the youths themselves have got it wrong. They've now become tools in the transactional politics of Nigeria. So people pay them to cause confusion. As I'm here now, go to the social media, all those that are being paid 20,000, 40,000 monthly to abuse your youth, whom you are fighting for their life, because at over 60, I have just few years to go. You know, but we can get it right because there's the opportunity there.
Thank you. I'm going to recognize this gentleman here, and in the middle here, and then I think this lady over on the I was going to say lady in green, but that accounts for like half of the audience. Green is a favorite color. Please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome, Mr. Peter OBI'S. My name is Charles Afamo, and I'm from New State. Good to see you again. My question is boiled on two words: state capture. Nigeria today has been completely captured by people that are less than 1,000 of 300 and 200 and something million people. They have captured INEC, Independence Commission. They have captured the army. They have captured the police. They have captured DSS. Every single security apparatus in Nigeria has been captured by these few individuals that are less than 1,000, controlling the whole country. You can't get them out. You can't vote. Their vote won't count. They commit crimes. The police cannot charge them. They have captured the judiciary. So where's the hope? Where's the hope going to come from? So my question is this, and maybe, I don't know, if you have the answers. How do we approach these people? Get them out? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Marshall. I am currently a final year MPH MBA degree candidate here. And it's quite lovely to have you around, Mr. Peter OBI'S. I know we've been talking a lot about politics, leadership, and stuff like that, but I want to dive a bit into policy. And I want to be quite as practical. Recently, you've been talking a lot about healthcare reforms, some of which I have followed. I'm one of those who think that your healthcare reforms while you were a governor, because I'm a medical doctor, were quite controversial. And of course, I do know, for example, doctors were on strike for like 13 months. And you know, many of that was because of the partnership thing you were trying to do with the religious institutions and stuff like that. But when you look back to that issue, right, and how it was managed, you know, I want to believe it was a really challenging period for the state in terms of healthcare access. So when you look back, do you think that, you know, the issue could have been handled quite differently? And then how do you like reflect on that in terms of like lessons from there going forward with how you now view healthcare reform in the country as a whole, particularly with health workforce, because that issue was a very, you know, it was a health workforce issue with the commerce thing. So like your reflection on it, what do you think? Were there lessons that, do you think you could have handled it differently? And then how do you apply those lessons to the future?
Okay, thank you. And then finally, and unfortunately we're almost at time, but we do have a reception and we'll all be here a little while afterwards, but this will be the final question. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. My name is Henrietta Igomori. I'm an alumni of SAIS and a Nigerian. My question is, to Your Excellency, how do you think we can make democracy work for Nigeria, considering the fact that many of these countries that we've used as examples are actually communist countries, where a lot of policy and decision-making is centralized at the highest level? And for a country like Nigeria, having so many interests to balance, especially things like federal character and all of that, is that an impediment to our development and our growth? And also issues around media Just like the popular saying that says, too many ants spoils the broth, I think trying to carry everyone along is sort of kind of slowing us down as a nation. So can we have an hybrid or a tailored democracy for countries like Nigeria? Because it seems like the kind of democracy that we have adopted is actually not as effective for us as for Western nations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me start with the issue of state capture. There have been state capture all over the world. It's not peculiar to Nigeria. What is peculiar to Nigeria is the refusal of the people to resist it. It's the refusal of the people to resist it. I was the first governor to go to court and stay for 3 years to become a governor. I was impeached the same month with 2 other governors. They left the country. I went and challenged the rascality in court. I said, no, it's wrong. And I gone back. I was the first governor to change the electoral date. Because I stayed 3 years before becoming governor, when they did the election in my state, I said, no, my tenure is not over. The Constitution says 4 years. And the same thing is what I've been doing since. Whether it's in 2023 or in anything, it's just saying, we're wrong. We cannot continue this way. We must try something else. So what we need to do is for Nigerians to say, we want things to go rightly. We voted culture. We voted tribe. We voted religion. Let's vote competence. Let's try that one and see whether it will work. That's what has been happening everywhere. We can get ordinary people. We don't need sophisticated. Look at what is happening in India with Modi. It's somebody who started his life as an entrepreneur in a small village and got up. Look at what we did in Indonesia and everything. So there's places to learn. I believe in learning and comparing ourselves every day. And that brings me even to what our sister said earlier about our culture. You just need to learn. I'm not comparing us with America. I said it when I was doing my delivery. I said, no. I'm looking at other comparable countries that were better off a few years ago. And now look at where they are. And we're still trapped in the process of the past and complain of state capture. People in INEC are human beings. People in the state police, everything is human beings. If we go to that electoral place and say, this election must count, they will count it. Quote me anywhere, they will count it there. And we can disagree and say, no, we didn't vote for you. We can. But what happens? Suddenly, somebody that is not voted for, who did not receive our vote, suddenly comes out and starts running around all over the place because we have developed a culture of celebrating wrong things. And it's not running around. If he wants to come here, everybody assembles us, even Nigerians there who will say, no, we don't want to meet him. He comes there as His Excellency. How can a thief be excellent? We know how he came and everything. So we can go on and everything. Even with what they do with terms of coming here, buying houses and everything. Somebody you know that doesn't have money yesterday to buy a house is coming here to buy. It's Nigerians that are introducing him to where he buys the house. And they are complaining. No, why did you call police and say this man has come? So we should do the right thing. If all of us get there, you talked about what I did in health. If I have the same opportunity, I will do exactly the same thing. No change. And I need to tell you what happened and what is happening then. When I became governor, I was the first person to ever bought an ambulance for a hospital. What you see today, even governors move around with ambulance. Go and ask them whether Peter OBI moved around with one. I bought one for each local government, 30 vehicles, and I want you to take this record. And I launched it. They gave me phone number, how I can call it, and they will come. I went to an event in Onitsha. I live in Onitsha, so I came back, went for an event. A traditional ruler, I'm going to call it now, traditional ruler of a community called Adazian. His wife was very sick, actually. His wife had died in the house. He left where I was with him in a gathering and said, I'm running home. My wife is sick. When that event finished about 10:30 p.m. in the evening, I told him I'm not going to talk, I'm going to that man's house. And that man was just seated with me and said his wife is sick. So I cannot go. That's not good. My people say we must go. I said, no, I'm going there. I got there. I met a doctor who actually told me, the woman is gone. The man didn't know. So I said, I'm going to take the man to the hospital. So I called that ambulance, which I bought. Me. I didn't say any other person bought. I bought them. I called them. That with that number they gave me, which we used to do the test that day. I called them. When we did the launching, supposed to react in 15 minutes. I called them, sitting down there for 1 hour. I didn't see any. They didn't even call back. Me, the governor, not ordinary people. Me who launches, didn't see any. I waited for another time. I didn't see any. I called a hospital called the Boromir Hospital. In 15 minutes, the ambulance was there. And we carried the woman into the ambulance. I told the traditional ruler not to follow me, because I know what's going on. I said, let me go. He said, no, you governor. I said, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to go to the hospital myself. And I did. I went there myself. Of course, the doctors told me the same thing the doctor in the house said and everything. I said, okay, let's just try whatever we can do and all that. We were there till about 2, 3 a.m. By the time they certified everything, took out to motion. Nobody called. They didn't call, but that ambulance, I don't call back. Oh. I got the next day and I told the commissioner, please, we're investing in the wrong place. We didn't have school of nursing. We are talking about going to have school of nursing. When I know that growing up, they were told that in my primary school, the first midwife in Nigeria was produced by a place they call Iyenu. The first midwife. They still have school of nursing and midwife. That is not accredited. They have one in a place they call Waterside. They have one in a place they call St. Joseph's, others, schools of nursing and midwife. They have one in a place they call, let me remember his name, A Lady of Lost in Ihala. So there's a lot of them owned by the missionaries that were not accredited. And I said to the commissioner, we've done a wrong investment. Let's go and partner with these people. Because what we took to the public hospitals and everything were not being used. They were being diverted to private. So let's go and support these people who are doing the right thing. And we want to invest in them. Go to Anambra State today, whichever state you are from. Anambra have the best of hospitals. Let me tell you, Iyenu is not a teaching hospital by the university. Boromir is not a teaching hospital being used by a university. So these were places we went to invest. We have more schools of nursing than any other state in Federal Republic of Nigeria. These are open things you can go and verify. Because of that, we partnered with places like Diocese of Amici, the Anglican Communion. They built a school of nursing from scratch that is doing very well now. And all that and all that. Because we chose that we can't go this way. It happened to us in the school. I put money in school in my first year. In WAEC, we were number 26, Oyo was number, I think we were 25, Oyo was 26. The next year, I told the commission, we are putting money wrongly. Let's return this school to the owners, the church. So it's not only here they were struck, the schools were shut down equally. They said they won't go to school again until I leave. It was President Jonathan's intervention that made them open this. They came and said, oh, the teachers are on strike and everything. And when the federal government set up a panel to look into it, I was there. I said, we hired you as a teacher. And we're paying you as a teacher. But we return school to this person who is the owner. What is your own? Your contract is teaching. You go and teach because it's not the new owner of school. Why wouldn't you teach with them? They say, oh, that this thing, supposing they don't want them. I said, then you're not teaching well. They don't want you. Because we are looking for teachers. One of the schools we had issue with, we took in a school. The church went and brought the references, I think from Ireland. He came. He said, even to me, governor, he said, I won't have one student outside boarding school. There are 1,800 students. And I said, sister, how you know? He said, all of them must live with me here. And everything. 3 months after, the teachers are quarreling with her. They say, oh, she comes to the class when you're teaching to supervise. He comes to stay in the gate. He comes to... I said, what type of thing is this? You're a teacher. The principal is supervising you. So once we finish this, when we're eating, I come and show you what the sister wrote me just 2 months ago about how well the school is doing. He said, God help you, started all this. I told him, I said, if you don't want to teach in that school, come with us, all of you, to our schools in different villages. Because the woman told me, said, these are traders, they don't want to teach, they don't know what they're teaching. So, go by, after 3 years, 2011, 12, and 13, we're number 1 in the entire country. So when you want to get things right, people say they're going on strike. Striking for what? It is just all those hospitals, all the ambulances we bought, go to EN, go there, you see, donated by Peter OBI. Because what happened? They are still using it. That one we bought, that nowhere can have. I've never seen the trace of it in my life. So you cannot allow that. If people don't want to work, we deal with people who want to work. Health is health. It doesn't matter when you're sick. They can take you to the missionary one. They can take you to the public one. Same thing with teachers. When we started buying computer for secondary schools, when we started trying to buy vehicles, generators for school, they said, oh, this one is private school. This one says, you don't have private children here. Our children are going to those schools. So we must buy computer for everybody. Go to HP. Anambra, maybe today, have bought the highest number of laptops, desktop for all the schools. We are the first state to put internet in all our schools. You can go, if you Google Microsoft and say, the relationship with us started Microsoft 2013 under Peter OBI. Because we said, no, we have to, and we didn't bother which one is private. If you have private and it's working, like I told you in Amich, we had to give the bishop money, it was so hard working. Ikako, to start School of Nursing from scratch. Go there is one of the best school of nursing in the entire country. So if we see somebody who wants to utilize money well, we'll give the person. Why put it in a place where no, it's not going to work? That's the problem of Nigeria. I want to invest, like the young girl is saying, we want to give people who are talented money to do something, not dump it in somebody whose ideas have left his brain and is wasting everybody's time. No. So it is not about, we didn't want.
Then we have
Someone talk about democracy. And undemocratic countries. I don't think the countries are compared with the undemocratic. Only China, maybe. Indonesia is democratic. And I'm happy that Peter Lewis has been Indonesia. Vietnam is. You cannot have a situation where in 1990, per capita in Vietnam is $99. $99. In fact, Vietnamese entire GDP is under $10 billion in 1990. Not 99, 1990. With per capita of $99. And Nigeria, as at that time, was almost $55 billion, almost $60 billion. And then today, Vietnamese GDP is almost $500 billion, with about $450 billion, with $4,700 per capita. And we are below 1,000. It's unacceptable. They are democratic. What they did is very simple. We can do it. They didn't even have oil. No, it's not coming from oil. They export more footwears, probably like 50% of what we earn from oil. It's like Bangladesh. Bangladesh exports more clothing than we earn from oil. We have so many tailors all over Nigeria and everything. It's encourage them. Talented people. So there's so many things we're doing wrongly. We need to learn it. They're democratic. These are studies that are empirical and clear. It has nothing to do with being undemocratic. It has to do with bad leadership.
So on that note, I'll end with both a thanks and an apology. We have a highly engaged and very accomplished audience, and we could obviously field 20 or 30 more questions, and we would be here for a long time. But Peter Obi has other engagements this afternoon, and we want to have some time for interactions and maybe one-on-one with audience members. This has been a thoughtful, wide-ranging, and very impassioned conversation about leadership and about the Nigerian prospect. So please join me in thanking our guest, and then afterwards, please enjoy the reception and the conversation.